This meeting is being recorded.
That's a new voice too. Wow, guys. All right, we're gonna get started in 1 second. I'm just waiting to hear back from Erica with her technical difficulties tonight, but we will be set to go.
Yeah, this was Erica. Oh, okay, I'm just ignore me.
All right, guys, as you're coming in, definitely hit the mute because I am going to record this, or we are recording this. That way you can come back and watch it.
Right.
Cool. All right, so hopefully Erica will pop in and she can handle the rest of that. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to share our screen and we're going to get started, guys. So this will be recorded, as we were saying. So you'll be able to come back and watch it at any time. It will be uploaded inside of Practice Better as well. So the reason for wanting to do this masterclass, now if you have any questions, you can stop me. I just can't see anybody or the screen right now. I can only see the screen that you're looking at. So I can't see if anyone's asking any questions or in the waiting room or anything. So if you have any questions, you definitely can unmute and ask them at any time. That way we can tackle them. You don't have to wait for it to the end. But this is our New Year Healthier You Masterclass. This idea came to me as I was listening to a couple of different podcasts. I love listening to podcasts while I'm at the gym. And they were talking about how we have so much motivation, or we seem to have so much motivation for when we start the new year. And it's kind of the same phenomena as starting on Mondays. We have this motivation of like, it's a fresh week, it's a new week, it's a new year. I can go in and I can do anything, or I can make anything happen. And that's why we have that lore of like the Mondays and the new months and the new year. So I figured, why not help to set everyone up for success with the new year by diving into this background work that we need to also be doing in the new year as well, in order to make sure that we actually achieve our goals. For most people, I believe the statistic is around 80% by January 14th have stopped their resolutions altogether and have stopped focusing on them and are not doing anything else. They're kind of back at square one. And by the end of February, it's virtually, for most people, if you're saying I'm going to diet and exercise, which is what half of those resolutions are every year, by January or by February, people who aren't actually taking those steps aren't sticking with it and aren't seeing the results with that as well. So we're not going to have that be anybody here tonight. Now for our agenda, we're going to go over introduction, your why, your goals, your path, and what's next. So this is going to be kind of setting us up of where is that starting point, where is that ground level for us so that we can figure out where to go next. So we'll be diving into all of this. So I'm Emily. As most of you know, if you're here, I'm Emily. I'm a registered dietitian, virtual nutrition coach, and owner of Nourish with Emily. I started this back at the end of 2018 because I wanted to help change women's lives, in particular men too, but women mostly, because we have a hard time as far as sticking to our goals and getting there. Our lives get really busy. We have a lot going on. We have a hard time focusing on getting there and staying there and managing everything at the same time. So that's how NWE was created, to be able to help dedicate the time and the energy, and from someone who understands, who's been in your shoes, and then who has a nutrition training background as well. We believe that a sound foundation to start the year will help set you up for success. We're going to take you through the where and the how to start in order to actually achieve your goals. So if you guys are like, yes, if you're feeling like we're ready for this, but the motivation has been a little tough this year, let us know in the comments. Because I want to see kind of where you guys are at as well. So drop that in the comments.
Recording in progress.
And I figured everything out, guys. Awesome. All right. Perfect. So we're starting here. Your why. Everything before you change, before you start anything, this is where we have to start. Your why is what's going to be the most powerful thing that's going to help you stay motivated, stay focused, and stay on the right path, especially when you feel like you don't want to keep going. When you feel like you want to throw in the towel, when you are overwhelmed, when you have so much on your plate, your why is what connects you to your motivation and the reason that we got started in the first place. So what is your why? Like you said, motivation. It's also an understanding of where we are coming from and what you value and what is important to you. If we don't have that understanding of what you're looking for and what you're wanting to get out of it, then we're going to have a really hard time with our why, or that understanding of what's going to be next, what we want to do, or why this matters, or how to keep going. Your why is also your reason. So that's just another way to say it. Rather than your why, it's your reason. But your why, lastly, is your buy-in. So you have to have that mental skin in the game, physical skin in the game, whatever it is, in order to be able to come in with a focus and say that this is going to matter to me. Because your buy-in is, why does it matter? Because I could sit here and say, every single one of you, I want you to go and swim 20 laps. But if you're like, I hate swimming, I don't want to go, I just can't see myself doing it, and I make you set that goal for this week, you don't have the buy-in, you don't have the motivation, the understanding of like why you want to do it, or if it's important, you're not going to get it done. So this is why everyone is on such a unique path, because your why has to be so important. We have to know where we're going with this all. So talking about one of my former clients, before her and I got started, I challenged her really hard on what her why was. So her why, she wanted to have a baby. She was in her late 20s, early 30s. She had PCOS. She really wanted to have a baby. They had been trying for a while and nothing was sticking. They had tried multiple different ways and IVF and all of that, and nothing was happening. Her PCOS was out of control. She was having horrible, painful, irregular periods. She was feeling like crap. Her energy was in the tank. She was not eating enough. She said, Emily, I have been trying to lose weight for 20 years. The doctor even went to the point of saying, I want you to go on keto in order to lose weight. And she fortunately was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But she had all of this understanding of like, something's got to change. It's just not working for me. Her buy-in was, she knew that if she could make these changes, she was going to have better control over her PCOS. If you don't know what PCOS is, it contributes to a lot of gynecological issues as far as irregular periods, cysts on the ovaries, which can mess with hormone levels as well and make it really hard for someone to get pregnant and for to stay pregnant. So she knew that she had to make changes with her health and her nutrition in order to get there, and having to start with changing it that way. So her why was, I need to lose this weight. I need to be healthier for myself and my husband, but also to be able to carry a healthy baby to full term. And fortunately, she was. She had a baby, and now I think the baby's 2, almost 3 years old. So her why, when times got really tough and she was overwhelmed and things were happening at her job that she just could not control, was, I'm doing this for me and the health of and our future and what our goals are. She wanted so desperately to have this child. In order to do that, she had to change her ways. So your why may not be this big. It may not be because I want to have a healthy baby and right now I can't, but it might be, I want to feel more confident again. Maybe you have these fabulous pair of shoes that you got a couple years ago that you are unable to wear right now because maybe you have a lot of swelling and in your hands and your feet that make it so uncomfortable. And you have a special occasion that you want to wear them for, but you can't if you're feeling the way you are now. Or it's that you want to have the longevity, or to be around to see grandkids or great grandkids or whatever it is. Your why has to go deeper than, well, I know I have to lose weight. Your why has to go deeper than, well, I probably should do something about it, or everyone else is exercising, so I should probably exercise. I heard a statistic last week that 50% of Americans do not exercise. They do not do anything, which I found very shocking. But then again, at the same time, as I work with people who are motivated to make changes. So it makes sense that my perception is so much higher because many of the people that we work with are already exercising, or they're doing intentional movement. whereas 50% of Americans aren't doing anything. And the podcast went on to say too that we weren't even really adapted to be exercisers when, we were more so adapted to be having physical activity, and exercise has come around to the result of our inactivity. But that's a whole nother point. So what's your buy-in? What is your why? What is that motive? What's that motivates you to make that change, that makes you say, you know what, this is serious and this is something that matters to me and this is something that means something to me? What is your driving force? What is that intention behind all of that? Because when you're able to say, like, this is my why, this is what matters, this is what I'm focusing on, it makes everything else so much easier. So if it's an intention rather than it's a goal, which we'll talk about in a minute, if it's an intention rather than it's a goal, that's fine. You can absolutely live with intention, but we still need to have a path that's going to take that intention down as well. I was looking at quotes earlier and I really like this a lot. So I thought that this put everything kind of into perspective too. So great minds have purposes, others have wishes. So when we have our why and we have that purpose of this is why I'm doing it, because we have more of that path behind it that's going to get us there. Where we can sit here and wish and pray and dream that we can do something, but if we don't have the understanding of why it matters and what it means to us and what the next step is, we're not going to get anywhere. So I want you guys to take 3 minutes, bullet journal, write it out, think about it. I'm going to stop screen sharing. And what we can do is I want you, after those 3 minutes, you're going to go ahead and drop it in the comments if you feel comfortable, because I want to know where you guys are at and what you're thinking. What is your why? You can share it if you'd like to. If you're like, no, thank you, I would not, I'd rather not, don't worry about it. And it might be something too that maybe you have to think about for a little while or reflect back on, but your why is integral as far as with the focus of it all. Everyone good? Anyone want to share? That is okay. Tracy says to have normal blood work readings at least 5 per week and to be the healthiest I can be. I love that. That's something where it's like the blood sugar, we know obviously impacts so many things and it helps to prevent other illnesses and things going on. So if we can keep those normal or in a better range and more consistent, you're going to feel better. Absolutely. To get healthier and stop all prescribed medication for high blood pressure and cholesterol. Yes. So both diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, all of that has to do with nutrition too. So if we can nail the nutrition and feel the activity and all of that, it makes everything so much easier. Awesome. All right, I'm going to go back to screen sharing. Okay. Back in. All right. So now we're going to talk about goals. What is it and where are you going? So we have that motivation behind why it matters. Maybe it's for your family so that you want to be healthier or set a better example for your kids or whatever it is. But just reflect on it. And that's something too, where I've done exercises with my own coach where he said, sit down and write deeply of like why your goals matter to you. Like, what does it mean? What does it do for you when you achieve those goals? And it could be as easy as like, I feel better, But when we can quantify what feeling better means, it puts those goals and that why more into that reality and understanding. So with those goals, like we said, what it is and where we are going. So you can have that intention of like, I'm going to have a healthier lifestyle. I'm going to have a healthier year, whatever it is. Or you can say, I'm going to set the goal of, I want my blood sugars to be under 125 most days out of the week, or maybe it's 2 out of the 3 readings out of the day. Being the specific, which is going to come down to the SMART goals we're going to talk about in a minute, is very important in order for us to know when we are achieving those goals too. So setting that intention of like healthier and setting that intention of better blood sugar or whatever it is, lower cholesterol, triglycerides, whatnot, it helps us to know what that focus is. And that can also help to set us up for those action steps too. Because we can set goals, but if we don't know the path that we're going to get there with, like, how am I going to make that happen? Then it's kind of just like that wish we were talking about a minute ago. So being able to say that this is my intention, this is my goal. Now I'm just have to figure out the steps and how do I get from point A to point B, and what I'm classifying, that's where the work comes in. What happens when we aren't specific? Yeah, this happens a lot. You would not believe the amount of people that we talk to or that I've talked to in the past, and even while I was in school, where they'd say, oh, I just want to get healthier. But we have to say, like, what does healthier mean? If you're saying that 2023 is going to be a healthier year for you, how do we quantify healthy? How do we quantify feeling better and making sure that, that we have health? What does health even mean? And I was actually talking to my chiropractor today, and he was saying that there's 2 different ways that we get motivated by things. And he asked me, he was like, Emily, why do you brush your teeth in the morning? And I was like, so I don't have bad breath. He's like, yeah, but like, what happens if you don't brush your teeth? Or like, why do we brush our teeth? And I was like, oh, like, I don't want like gingivitis and plaque and all of that. He's like, either we get motivated from something, from being nervous of what the outcome is or scared of what that outcome is, or from what could happen with it. So thinking about it that way too. Are you motivated? Maybe it's for weight loss, or maybe it's to exercise because you want to feel more confident in a pair of jeans. That's something that's adding to your life. Maybe you want to change, the decreasing the saturated fat intake and reducing your blood pressure and your cholesterol levels, so that you are taking away that risk of a heart attack or heart disease, knowing that there's a reason and a motivation behind it. But when we aren't specific and say, well, I want to lose weight, we get really impatient. We don't see the process for what it is. And we kind of sit there tapping our foot or looking at our watch and being like, I feel like I should be there by now. But if we don't know where we're going, it's like getting in the car and just driving aimlessly, which sometimes is nice to do, but most of the time it's really not, especially when time is so precious. So when we're setting up our goals and saying, where are we going? What am I doing? We have to remember to make them SMART goals. And I am sure every single one of you has either heard me talk about this, or you've listened to a presentation at work or in school about SMART goals. But just a reminder, we have to make sure that they are specific. So like we said, we have to make sure, what exactly are we trying to achieve? So I'll use weight loss as a example. I've had plenty of people that say, you know what, I'm going to come in and I want to lose weight. Okay, well, how much do you want to lose? We have to have that clarifying question first to understand where we're going. And they might say 20 pounds. Okay, great. Measure, can we measure that goal? Absolutely. We can weigh ourselves every week, every month, or whatever it is. So maybe it is, I want to reduce my cholesterol levels. How are we going to measure that? Well, regular lab work. We can tell what that cholesterol level is by getting our labs done regularly. And for most people, that's done every 6 to 12 months or so. So making sure whatever that goal can be measured, rather than being, I want to be healthier, we can't put a quantitative number on healthier. We have to make sure that it's accepted, or like that it's actually something that you want to do. Because I know every single person here does not like to be told what to do. So if we were to come in, like we were saying before, and say, I want everyone to swim an hour in the pool, and that's going to be our goal for the week, you're going to have no buy-in. Your why is not behind it. And the goal just sounds like it's crappy. So if we don't have that buy-in and it's not accepted, it's not going to happen. That realistic of like, can I actually do this? Dropping cholesterol levels by 100 points in 6 months, that is a lot of space we got to get moving there. But if we can drop it 20 to 40 points, in 4 to 6 months, that's a better trend for us and more realistic too. Part of it with a lot of things is we have family history that exposes us for diabetes, hypertension, hypercholesterol, hypercholesterolemia, all of that stuff. And we can't control our genes, but we can control all of those actions and all of those steps that we're taking too. And then just making sure that we're having them be time bound of like, when am I getting there? I was talking with a client, I think she said the other day it was like 180 days until her birthday. And she's working on weight loss. And she's saying, what do you think we can do in this 180 days? And we decided on a couple different goals that she's going to work on. So we know by the time it's her birthday, this is where she wants to be. And then we can kind of reverse engineer what those next steps are. All right, so client case study. This client is in her 40s. She was recently given medications for hypertension and hyperlipidemia, or it's high cholesterol, high triglycerides. Everyone in her family has also struggled with this. I've even seen clients in their late teens that have been given medication for high cholesterol and hyperlipidemia due to family history as well. So she's seen everyone in her family struggle with the same problems. She tries every day. She goes to the doctor. She gets the same lecture from the doctor saying, you got to make changes. You got to do this. She's at risk for diabetes with a family history of type 2 diabetes. She feels like she is lost. She's wanting to be healthier as she starts a new career. And she's just saying, what do I do now with the stress of all of this stuff around us? So I'm sure that a lot of people can kind of resonate with this story as well, or this case study too. What was her why and what was her goal? Her whys was her family, because she wants to be around for her family. Her mental health, because if we have this diagnosis and this thing that's hanging around, it might make you feel negative. It might make you feel not great. And also the confidence too. Usually when we change our cholesterol and our triglycerides and our managing hypertension, it often results in weight loss and body changes as well too, which might result in her clothes feeling better as she starts this new career. As she feels more confident in those clothes, where she's going into meetings not feeling uncomfortable or feeling like she has to run out and get her blood tests every 6 months and have follow-ups with her doctor. She wants to feel confident and know that she's doing the right thing. So what was her goals? Reducing medication or getting off medication, being generally healthy. And that's such an interesting statement for us to say, like, I'm a generally healthy person. That's just meaning, trying to reduce the risk of other chronic disease and then also being around for a while. Things like hypertension and hyperlipidemia, they plague many women. I think the statistic is I think it is around 50 to 60% of women end up getting heart disease. And a lot of it is we don't take care of ourselves as we get older and we're not moving as much. We have to stay active in all of that. So understanding her goals and her why, we then have to set SMART goals. So here are some examples of the SMART goals. So she's losing weight, her blood pressure is under control, her hyperlipidemia is normalized, her energy is so much better. Here is a SMART goal. I'll be lowering my blood pressure through increasing my activity 4 to 5 days a week. So we already know it's specific. We're aiming to lower blood pressure. We know that activity and exercise, building up that heart muscle, is going to help with that. We're going to reduce sodium intake to be 2,300 milligrams or less. And I know that sounds like a lot, but the average American diet is 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of sodium. That's a lot of sodium. That is, I think 2 teaspoons is 2,300 milligrams. So eating almost twice of that is going to cause the hypertension and other issues too. She's going to check her blood pressure each week and track the progress after 3 months as well. Knowing for a lot of people that we can get white coat syndrome. So if you're someone who's like, I have hypertension, probably tracking your blood pressure in the morning. I would say trying to do it every morning or every week and keeping note of that. So when you go into your doctor and say, hey, they're like, oh, your blood pressure is still elevated. You can say, well, I've been keeping track of it. And here's where I usually am when I'm not nervous at being at the doctor's or frustrated for being at the doctor's for an hour and a half. So I want you to take 3 minutes and start to write out what those goals are, what that intention is for the year in that SMART goal format. So think of like, maybe it's going to be 2 or 3 things. Maybe it's just one thing. For example, our goal this year is that we want to help over 200 women inside of NWE. So whether it be in our one-on-one coaching, or if it's in our group programs, or if it's in Back to Basics that's starting in a couple weeks, or master classes like this, we want to be able to help more people change their nutrition and change their lives through easy, sustainable things. So none of this stuff here has been us saying, I need you to get a meal plan in order to figure out what your goals are to achieve your goals. Next, what we're going to do is figuring out the path on how to get there. So if anyone wants to share the SMART goal, you absolutely can in the comments. I'm going to come back, stop screen sharing. Make sure we didn't leave anybody hanging out in the awesome waiting room. Kim says, when you see how much sodium is in stuff, it blows your mind. Absolutely. It is wild. I was recently I was talking with a client, chicken broth, no, excuse me, bone broth versus chicken broth, low sodium chicken broth. And they're like, oh, it's low sodium chicken broth. It's going to have less sodium. The low sodium chicken broth had 25% of the daily value. The bone broth had 10% of the daily value. So it really does make a difference of like trying to be aware and label reading and things like that as well. Ashley says, yes, I feel the same way about sugar too. It's nice now that they have, what is it, that they put right there on the package if it is added sugar or like the naturally occurring sugar, so we can be a little bit more aware of like what we're having. But maybe your goal is, I'm going to reduce added sugar. You know, Tracy was talking about blood sugar levels. Maybe it's going back and saying, all right, we're going to start looking at our the nutrition facts panel and saying, can I try to keep below maybe definitely less than 50 grams of added sugar a day? Whereas that naturally occurring sugar is going to have more fiber, vitamins, and minerals along with it as well. Everyone good to move on? I see Carrie. We're going to carry on, guys. Awesome. All right, so your path. So now it's like saying, we know what our motivation is. We have that foundation, that groundwork. We know what the goal is or where we're getting there. Now we have to fill in the how. What are those next steps? This is the $1 million question for most people, because we can say and talk till we are blue in the face that we need to figure out, or we want to get here. And it's not Google Maps, because Google Maps is going to tell you exactly what you need to do or where the next step is or what those turns are. But we have to sit there at the end and say, how do I make this realistic and sustainable? How can I do this going forward so that I don't have to run into this issue again and I can stay focused? So look back at your why and your what, your goals, and ask yourself what is needed. But before we ask yourself what is needed, I want you to start to think, how can we reverse engineer this? If you're someone who's saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, let's say in 6 months, which is very reasonable, less than a pound a week or so. So it allows for there to be weeks where we're up and down, but still trending in the right direction. We might say, okay, 6 months, I'm aiming for 20 pounds. That's going to be on average, we'll say 3.5 to 4 pounds a month. And that would put us over the 20 pounds, which is going to end up being about a pound a week. What is going to get me to help me lose that pound a week? Because we can set the goal that we want to lose a pound a week. So it's setting another SMART goal in it, but we have to know what's going to get us there. Because if we just say, I want to lose weight, but don't have the background or the foundation of what are my steps, then we're kind of still stuck there at the beginning point. So we were talking about this on Instagram the other day. You know, those goals for weight loss that have nothing to do with weight loss at all. Maybe that is, you're going to start working out more, or you're going to hit 8,000 steps a day. You don't have to push yourself to hit 10,000 just because people say you should hit 10,000. You're only moving 4,000 steps, start to slowly increase and see if you can at least hit 8 consistently. Maybe it's you want to eat breakfast every day. You know, when you eat breakfast, you make better choices. Maybe it's trying to buy more nutrient dense foods at the grocery store rather than buying a lot of the, cookies from the bakery or things like that. Maybe it's freezing some of the leftover cookies for Christmas that you might still have in your house, or throwing them out. I was talking with a client a couple of months ago, and it was a week after her birthday, and she's like, we're still eating birthday cake. And I was like, it's a week old. Can we get rid of it? She's like, but it still tastes good, but food safety wise, it's probably not great. So knowing that it's okay to throw stuff away, it's a big piece of the moral of that story. But how can we reverse engineer it? What are those things that are going to help us get there? Usually it's a calorie deficit. If your metabolism is in good shape, as far as you haven't been in a gross deficit for a long time, you're not severely under eating and over exercising. We have to find that balance with all of that. But setting up those micro goals, or what are those 2 or 3 things, or the lowest hanging fruit that's going to help me change the most and help me to achieve that bigger goal. Because we can't control what the scale says. No matter how hard we try, we cannot control what the scale says. I wish I could. I wish I could wave a magic wand, but I would not be sitting in Syracuse, and I would not be sitting right here, right now. I don't have a magic wand. But if we can start to say, I'm able to control all those things, as far as I know what I'm eating, I'm able to build a healthy plate, I have the awareness of the foods that I'm eating, and so on, it'll make it so much easier to say, like, okay, I felt like this was a strong week. Let's see feedback wise on the scale, what's happening. I was talking with a client this morning who said, hey, the scale is creeping up. Food has been really consistent. I checked over her food log. Her food has been really consistent. The only thing that I can think has changed is hydration and exercise. Bam. The exercise is decreased. She's only working out a couple times a week. We started to add a couple small things in more, like going for a walk after dinner and drinking more water to help with constipation issues. And we're going to see what happens from there. She's not overeating, because she was eating this for the longest time over the past couple months through the holidays. She wasn't gaining weight. I think it's more of an exercise thing and being a little bit dehydrated and constipated. But if she just said, I'm going to lose a pound of weight this week, and we don't have any action steps behind it, we're not going to get there. After we know, like, okay, I need to exercise more, I need to do X, Y, or Z more, I'm going to meal prep more, we have to know what else is needed there. Do you need to set up a date with your significant other or your spouse to plan meals for the week? Every Sunday, Joe and I sit down at the table in there, or I sit down at the table, Joe puts us around the kitchen, and I say, here is what I'm thinking for breakfast and lunches this week. What do you think? Does that sound good to you? Most of the time he says yes, whatever you want to make. But knowing that, having that conversation, saying, like, we're going to meal prep, we're going to do this together, it's going to make it so much easier to make those healthy choices rather than being from the reactive phase. You're coming from that proactive. If you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing at the gym, I don't even have a gym membership, your first step might be, in order for me to achieve this goal of working out more, but I don't want to do it at home, maybe it is I need to go and sign up for the $15 gym membership someplace. Many places too also have an initial consult or 2 with a personal trainer that's absolutely free. 30 minutes to an hour or so, I think. I know the gym that I go to, Blink, they do that for everyone. I think you get 2 free visits. Taking advantage of that and getting accustomed to the different machines and giving you an idea of, like, a good workout. If you need more accountability and support, if you need help as far as managing the diabetes and the hypertension and wanting to take a more hands-on approach as far as weight loss wise, maybe it's you're working with us or you're in one of our programs. Maybe you're like, I just want to bike more. Maybe you need to go out and buy a bike. Or we need to make that time. Maybe it's making that time for yourself and putting it into your calendar of, I don't want to eat at my desk. I want to take those 15 minutes and be able to go into the kitchen and sit there and eat and socialize with friends at work. Maybe that's what we need to do to be able to slow down and have that. So asking yourself and looking back of, like, with these goals, how can we reverse engineer them? Is there something that I'm doing too much of, not enough of, or not doing at all that I could add, change, or get rid of in order to help me achieve this? And as always, the question of how do I start? Where do I start? The smallest thing. The smallest thing. Even if it's drinking more water, start there. If you can go on a walk twice a week after dinner time, start there. It doesn't have to be that you're, changing up the different protein sources or, having to add an extra salad in the afternoon to get enough fiber. Start with those small things and you're going to build those wins, and the winning feeling will also become more addictive as well. That'll make you feel more likely and to continue on. Start small. So what is needed, kind of refreshing back? Is it a physical change? Do I need to change my environment? Do I need to add something to my environment or get rid of? The mental change. Is there conditioning or urges or cravings that I need to kind of overcome, or do I need to work on in order to achieve this goal? We also work with a lot of people that have emotional eating. And a lot of it does come from that mental change. Yes, we have to figure out if they're eating enough throughout the day, because if they're not eating enough throughout the day, they're going to have the cravings at the end of the night and do some emotional eating. But knowing and understanding why we're getting those cravings and those urges. And with this podcast I was listening to that I shared with our one-on-one clients yesterday, riding the wave of those urges and those cravings, especially if it's alcohol, if it's dessert after dinner when you're not even hungry for it, if it's, nicotine or whatever it is, riding the wave of those cravings, because it will pass. Your body isn't physically dependent on that stuff. Most of the time, those cravings and those urges come from a situational thing or a coping thing, which is something that we talked about inside of Cancel Your Cravings, which if you're interested in that, please reach out. You can still get into that program. Being able to understand that mental change, that mental thought process and conditioning has to happen too, in order for us to see focus and keep going. The emotional change, and this comes right, obviously it's hand in hand with the mental change of, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not giving yourself that space and that self-care and that rest, you don't have to lean in and do more. You can take a nap. It is okay to say, I'm struggling right now. I need some help. Can I give myself this time? It doesn't have to be a bubble bath. I was listening to a speaker yesterday who was saying, somebody thought it was a bubble bath because that's very girly. And then, only girls do self-care. And she was like, I challenged one of my guy CEO clients to take a bubble bath. And he was like, my life has changed. So it doesn't have to be a bubble bath. It could be whatever fills your cup and is your time. Do you need to make sure whoever supports you or who is involved is aware of what's going on? We have to be able to communicate what these goals are and like what you need from them in order to be successful. I'm going into, for lack of a better way to say it, a cut with the gym, and I'm doing more high intensity things. I'm doing more endurance. So it's less of the muscle building, more of the muscle defining. So I'm bringing down my calorie intake a little bit. I needed to communicate this with Joe because that's going to change some of the meals that I'm cooking. I'm going to lean more on those fruits and those vegetables and those protein sources and some of the whole grains. My portions are probably going to look a little bit smaller than his, but he's going to need to know because I'm going to be changing some of the stuff that we're eating. We're doing salads for lunch every week this year. Well, I'm committing to 52 weeks. We'll see if it happens. I'm trying. I'm being positive here. We're trying. But that he needed to know, like, hey, I think this is what we should do. And he was right on board with it. So being able to communicate, these are the changes that I'm making. I want you to support me or be, someone just to listen to, even if you're not someone who can change the problem. And lastly, too, we have to understand failure. We are going to have 6 setbacks every year. There was a study, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about a study. People have 12 setbacks in their goals for every 2 years. So it's learning and accepting that failure is going to happen and that is a natural thing because life is going to happen. Things are going to get thrown in your way and you're not going to know where to go. But knowing that it's coming is going to be a huge piece of it. Saying like, all right, I know at some point I'm going to get burnt out. I'm not going to want to work out. I'm not going to want to run. I'm not going to want to meal prep. What am I going to do at that point? Try to recognize that I'm in this like defeated failure mindset and say, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing through because I will start to feel better again. But I need to push through where I'm at right now. Learning from your failure too is also so big, so huge for success because your failure can show you where those blind spots may have been. Maybe you said, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. And then you realize after week 2 that your body just cannot do 5 days. That is very unrealistic for you to stay focused, but then also the soreness that your body is enduring with the recovery. You might say like, I'm failing at this goal because I'm not getting to the gym 5 days, but it's learning of like, I need to give my body that time and that space and the rest in order to be able to achieve it. And how you respond to changes in the timeline. That is another thing to be aware of and to be understanding. Life happens, especially for most people over the last 6 weeks. It's been the holiday season. We've had a lot going on. People have absolutely come to us and said, I want to lose 10 pounds over these next 2 months. But knowing that they have parties 3 times a week and all of this stuff, knowing that the timeline might need to change, but that doesn't mean that the work is going to stop happening on you or that the growth is going to stop happening. You're still going to keep working, even though things might be not shaking out at the exact timeline that we want it. Because once again, we can't control some of these results. We can control our actions, our attitudes, and our efforts that go into them. So the first step, the lowest hanging fruit, the smallest thing you can change or the thing that you can add. Try not to start with taking away something because you're going to fixate on it. Maybe it's drinking more water, especially if you're interested in better blood sugar control. Hydration is the biggest thing that doesn't even change anything with your nutrition that's going to help you feel so much better and have better blood sugar control. My father is a type 1 diabetic. When he is traveling or is flying, his blood sugars run elevated. He is very well controlled. That is because he is dehydrated. The pressure changes and being up so high in the air causes him to be dehydrated and his blood sugar levels run elevated. If you are not drinking enough water, even if you are not traveling, your blood sugars are still going to run elevated. Your blood is more concentrated at that point. Stay on top of the hydration. If you're feeling lost or overwhelmed, just break it down to be the smallest thing that you can. Breaking it down to be what's the good here, what's this nugget that I'm learning from, and where can I go? And lastly, believing in you. Every single goal, especially with weight loss and nutrition, it's at least 50% mental. Because if we come in with a defeated attitude of every other time I've tried something, I've failed, it is not going to work, you are talking yourself out of making changes. You're talking yourself out of taking this goal and these actions seriously. We have to have that conversation with ourselves and say, am I in my own damn way right now? And how can I change this narrative, this BS story that I'm telling myself, because it's not true to begin with. Those other things that you've tried, whether it be for work goals or whatever, those other things that you've tried haven't been built for you. They aren't built for your success. When you're doing something that's built around you and for your success, it's going to be so much easier. But you have to start with that belief in you, or else nothing is going to happen. I can't say I'm going to go and, bench press, let's say 125 pounds if I'm like, it's not going to happen. My personal trainer is going to be like, yeah, not going to happen with that attitude. Knowing that you can do it is a big piece. Be kind to yourself. Life happens. It's supposed to be life, not live. Life happens, but we can continue to stay aware and make the changes as well. So things are going to happen. Just keep going through. So in summary, your why is your strongest piece of motivation that can bring you back into focus. When you think you've gone deep enough, I want you to ask yourself, but why does that matter? You could say, I want to lose weight, but why does it matter? And then keep going deeper. There are supports that can get you there faster. You just have to ask and to seek them out. And life will happen. You just have to give yourself grace. Because not every day is going to be perfect. We never ask for perfection, and I never expect perfection from anybody here. But you have to give yourself grace and say, okay, I'm learning from this and we're going to continue on. As long as you can keep showing up for you, you will get there. Now, if anyone is interested in joining Back to Basics, when you join by tomorrow, you're going to be getting our February Masterclass absolutely free. It is all about protein, how much and why, and how to get it in throughout the day, where you don't have to be chugging protein shakes and eating disgusting protein bars all the time. All of our one-on-one clients get these for free along with all of our programs. But if you're joining Back to Basics, that is our bonus for this week. You're going to be getting our February Masterclass, which will be $50, absolutely free. So if you're interested in that, let us know. But I'm going to come back. We're going to open it for discussion or any questions. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, anything that they want to talk about or go over? You can go ahead and unmute or drop it in the chat box. Yes, absolutely. Ashley says, thank you so much. Good to start my journal for January 16th. Ashley's inside of our Back to Basics program, so I think she's going to love it. Awesome.
What about just examples of goals that aren't unrealistic and too obnoxious to do in a short period of time?
Can you phrase it as far as like in what direction? What are we thinking?
Because I'm thinking I just have certain things that I want to accomplish, but I don't want to do it in, say, I only have 2 months to lose X amount of weight, and it's like, it's something that's not sustainable and not healthy. And I want to make sure, like, we do things gradually. And I have an idea of like a more realistic goal as far as how much weight I want to lose per month for
Mhm.
like 6 months or something.
Yeah. So I think if you can reverse engineer it, like we were saying, or going off the base of 1 to 2 pounds a week is usually that healthy weight loss range that we usually look for. Anything beyond that, we run the risk of losing water weight and becoming dehydrated, which clearly we do not want that to happen. So trying to say like, okay, mild deficit, 300 to 500 calories or so is going to put you at that about pound a week or so. And that's something that you and your coach, Emily, can go over, Carrie. But if you're saying like, okay, how can I stay realistic with it, is knowing that like the scale is going to come up and down, but as long as we're trending in the right direction, you're able to eat as much as we can while still keeping you in a deficit, you're going to find success. But it's being able to say, not getting hung up on those weeks where it might be tough or they might not have been perfect or you don't feel great with them, knowing that like you still have that opportunity to continue on. So maybe you want to lose 50 or 60 pounds, knowing that in 3 months, we're going to have to be cutting off some limbs, maybe even your head too, in order to be able to achieve that. But it might be saying like, okay, if I can be down 5 pounds this month, and I'm also going to be working on changing my body composition through strength training and adding protein, I'm moving in the right direction. Because as we add more muscle mass, we are also increasing our basal metabolic rate, which makes it easier for your body to burn more calories at rest, which then helps with weight loss overall. So breaking it down into smaller goals of like, this is what my goal is for the month, can also help with keeping the focus rather than seeing like this huge goal of like 60 pounds in, let's say it is, 6 to 8 to 12 months. Make it smaller and say, is this realistic? And also, what am I going to have to sacrifice if I'm trying to lose 20 pounds in 1 month? If that means that you're cutting out meals and you can't go out with your friends and you can't have a drink with your friends, or you can't go on date night, or you have to skip dessert for your birthday, is it worth it? Does that help?
Yeah, that definitely breaks it down quite a bit, because I'm thinking like my weight that I feel like would be sustainable and a healthy weight that I was at a long time ago. I feel like it's very far away, and I don't want to say, I want to lose 30 pounds in 2 months or something crazy.
Right. Right. And also knowing too that you might get down 15 pounds and be like, I feel great here. Like, I don't want to go any further.
Mhm.
Talking with my doctor and everything, they're like, well, you should be 125 pounds. And I look at them like they have 7 heads, because it's like, that's not going to happen. I would be so
Mhm.
miserable. And it's just like, I wouldn't be healthy at that point. So knowing too that goal might change in the
Mhm.
process, depending on how you're feeling.
Yeah, because I remember like at a certain weight, I felt normal, not normal, but just, you feel good at a certain weight and you
Yeah.
feel like, you're not under eating or overeating and you feel like you're good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I get that. And I think it's being open to reading those non-scale wins too along the way is a huge piece of it, because you might
Mhm.
start to find like I'm down 10 pounds and my energy is already crazy, so much better.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Kim says cardiologist offices are like hazing rituals for BMI, and BMI is so outdated, and they're probably doing that for the billing is probably why, the insurance, which how lovely, as well as looking for metabolic disease or disorder, which really stinks, because I'm technically overweight, but I am the healthiest I've ever been. So I don't care about BMI. Emily asks, do you have advice for where to put your why, like on your phone or in a notebook? That is completely up to you. I have mine in a journal. I wish you could see my screen right now, or my camera. I have an old notebook that my original business coach sent me, and I wrote like 4 pages in there of like what my why was, why I'm doing this, what I want to achieve, and why it matters to me. So it could be like that. You could put on a piece of paper, fold it up, and put it into a box or something. I have like a little like memory box on my desk where I put some goals in there and my understanding of my why. I've even had people write a letter to themselves too about what, like their current self to their future self, and what you'd want to hear when you achieve that goal, which can also help with refreshing your why and that focus also. So you can put it on your phone, you could put it on your notebook, wherever you want to keep it safe. If you want to communicate that with your coach, absolutely, with us, whatever it is. But always just keep asking yourself, once you feel like you've got it, ask yourself again, but why does that matter? How can I go deeper? Any other questions or anything? Oh, another idea too with your why. If you wanted to, you can always post it like on your computer, or a high traffic area too, in your, in the drawer of your nightstand. I have quotes on my computer screen, for things that kind of like remind me, and good mantras to have, like when nothing is certain, anything is possible. I'm living in limitless energy. Those are things that kind of can help with grounding me, and same thing too with your why. Yeah, the idea, the letter to yourself is so nice. I've had a couple clients who've, had some struggling things going on in their life, and they said, you know what, like I'm going to write this letter to myself, and they're like, I had a really rough day, and I read that letter, and I was like, man, I know why I started this, and I know this is exactly what I needed to hear. Anything else, guys, before we end the call? You guys have been so great. Thank you so much for being so patient with me, especially with our technical difficulties. This is going to be uploaded into Practice Better, so everyone will have access to the replay that you can go back and watch it at any time. I can also send over slides too if anybody needs the slides. But I just want to thank you guys so much for taking the past 55 minutes with me. You have all been wonderful. If you need more information about Back to Basics or ready to sign up, let me know and we can get you guys inside. Have a wonderful rest of your, I believe this is Thursday, your Thursday night. And I will see everybody soon. Bye, guys.